Where have I been? Where the fuck have I been? I'm not gonna lie, I've been going through it. I've been going through hell. And for the first time in my life, I understood what depression really meant. Which is weird because when people would tell me they were depressed, I would get so frustrated. I just didn't understand. I would think, why can't you just act your way out of it? And I've had my fair share of waves with depression, but this time it was different. It lasted way longer than ever before and it fucked me up like nothing else had. And what made it worse is all the advice you hear online rarely helps. And believe me, I tried. I tried the self-help books. I tried the routines. I tried to stay consistent. And yes, it can be useful, but when the inside isn't feeling okay, it's virtually impossible to do anything. The last thing you want to hear when you feel this disgusting sense of discomfort is everything's going to get better. It's all in your head, or through action alone, your situation will improve. You can logically recognize that you have the power to change your circumstances. You can understand that you are in control of your own happiness. But when the inside isn't feeling good, it's so hard to think greater than how you feel. It doesn't matter where you are, who you're with, what you're doing, or what you tell yourself, especially when your mind and body are working against you. When you feel hopeless, it's so hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel or build the courage to take the necessary actions. Depression can be so crippling. It's like a wave of darkness that consumes you and you can't escape. You feel like you're under attack, and the only time you feel safe is when you're unconscious. And I hate when people tell you to just do what needs to be done, because there are so many high functioning people that are depressed that do exactly that. So there must be a reason why willpower and routine alone aren't enough to fix the situation. If it was that easy, you would have done it already. I know depression looks different for everyone, but the reason for this video is I want to share my experience with you so you A, don't feel so alone, B, you can relate, C, you can stop holding yourself to such a high standard, because all the people that you aspire to be like, their lives are not perfect. They go through things behind closed doors, so you do not need to put yourself down or be your worst enemy just because you see a picture perfect image of someone else. I was really going through it. I was in the fucking trenches. I didn't know how I was going to get out. And I want to share the advice that I picked up in hopes that it can help you. Guys, this is a pre-warning. There are going to be times throughout this video where I may laugh at things that aren't actually funny, but it's the way I cope with the pain that I've experienced. So if that triggers you, please do not watch this video. The best way I can describe my experience is it felt like I was stuck in cement. I wasn't just overwhelmed, I was paralyzed. And throughout my life, I've gone through my fair share of trauma. I've gone through things that nobody else ever will, but I've always been able to feel it, to cry, to release it. And deep down, I always knew that things would get better, which they always did. But this time it was different. I lost the will to live and I felt like I gave up. I didn't care for my potential. I could no longer cry over the things I was neglecting, and I completely shut off and shut down from the rest of the world. No one heard from me for an entire year, and I feel so bad now because I can't imagine what my loved ones were going through. They did not know if I was dead or alive. I just disappeared off the face of the earth, but it's because I didn't want them to know what I was going through, and I knew I couldn't be consistent, so I might as well stick to being alone. I felt so hopeless. Every time I would try dig myself out of this rut, I was met with so much resistance. Even the smallest of tasks took so much effort and it was just weighing down on me. My mind would either go blank or my body would itch with discomfort. And before I knew it, my legs were leading me up the stairs back into bed so I could avoid everything and pretend like my problems didn't exist. For a good 6 months, I couldn't even cry, no matter how hard I tried. And I was just overwhelmed with so many emotions to the point where I just went numb. And now I understand it's because my body couldn't handle or process that level of pain. The only thing I felt was stress manifest in my body from morning till night. And I think that's why I was so tired. No matter how many coffees I drank, no matter how much sleep I got, I would always wake up exhausted, not because I was doing any physical labor, but because the mental torment I was dealing with on a consistent basis required so much energy that left me drained. I was at war with myself whenever my eyes were open, and it's so strange because it was like I was detached from my mind and body. I could observe my thoughts attacking me, but I just let it because I didn't have the willpower to stop. I was so scared of leaving the house or having any human interaction because it felt as if I lost my voice. I could not string words into sentences for the life of me. Anytime my mouth was open, shit would just come out that I couldn't even make sense of. And I was low-key worried because at times I felt like I was having a stroke. I couldn't go out because I could no longer appreciate or fully be present around things that I used to love. The strangest part for me was the memory loss, because me and my friends would have literal fights over this. They would ask me if I could remember going here or doing that, and I couldn't recollect for the life of me. It was only once I would look through my camera roll and see photographic evidence of memories that I had forgotten, would I be like, oh shit, yeah, we actually did do that. Sometimes I felt so sad because I would wish I could turn back time to being a child again, where I still had my innocence or never got to encounter how cruel this world could be. I missed what it was like waking up with no worries. I wished at times I could just be hugged and held by my mum and dad again, or have fun and fight with my siblings. Back then, I felt this urgency of wanting to grow old and leave home because I wanted freedom. But depression taught me that I never should have rushed a part of my life that I should have appreciated and cherished. The issue now was I did not have a home. I hadn't lived with my family in over 10 years. I had moved countries so many times. I didn't have a place where I truly belonged. And I started to question God's existence, because anytime I would pray for his guidance or help, all I received was silence. It was like my insides were burning with rage and anger, so I stopped praying. The turning point for me was letting myself hide until I couldn't no more. I allowed myself to doom scroll, to avoid, to isolate, until none of it made me feel good. I realized how bad it got when I was watching videos on 2 times the speed and I could not finish a single bit of content for the life of me. I felt pure disgust. And at that point, addressing the issue was more exciting than staying stuck. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is rest and relax, because that is exactly what your body needs, and everything in life comes in waves. Rest can be helpful if it gives you the energy to return 10 times better, and most of the time, that's exactly what it does. The truth is, depression fluctuates. 1 minute you feel overwhelmed, you're paralyzed. Then there's a window where you feel okay. In the moments where you're drowning, nothing will help. In those moments, I always suggest doing nothing. Just sit with it, validate it, feel it, acknowledge it. When you feel down or depressed, it's okay to rest. It's okay to spend time alone to recharge. You can give yourself permission to overeat, to binge watch. It's fine. You don't need to dehumanize yourself for having normal human emotions or normal human experiences. When depression doesn't feel so heavy, that's when you can start changing your habits or ways of thinking, but one step at a time. You don't need major changes, because small actions repeated consistently compound over time. Even though it feels insignificant, every tiny improvement that you stick to stacks up and leads to major results. The important thing is you cannot victimize yourself, because waiting for motivation will not get you anywhere. So yes, don't act when you're drowning, but also don't take the piss, because the ultimate goal is to get into the rhythm of trying even when you don't feel like it. One of the sneakiest things about depression is it comes with you wherever you go. It does not care how nice your house is, how much success you've built, or how perfect your circumstances look. And when I was researching, I came across the mentality versus materiality trap. Materiality is your external reality. It's tied to the physical aspects of whatever is around you, whereas mentality is the lens you see it through. It's the meanings, the beliefs, the stories your mind attaches to everything else. So let's take a breakup, for example. The materiality is things ended, it's over. Whereas mentality is you're unlovable, you're unworthy, you are never going to find anyone else. When I first started on social media, my materiality was so rough. I was back living with my family. The only place I could film was in my car. But my mentality was strong because I believed I was capable, and I thought I was going to make it. I had no other choice, which is exactly what happened. But as soon as I reached the dream life, I had a massive, beautiful house. I had all the high-end equipment. I had a clear plan for success. That's when all the negative thoughts started creeping in, even though there was no real evidence to validate the doubt that I had. I started thinking, I'm going to run out of ideas soon. I'm sick of talking about the same shit. People must find me so annoying. I've had enough of speaking on relationships because I'm reliving my own pain over and over again. Over time, I started over-identifying with all these limiting beliefs and accepting them as truth. And this negative filter became my new default way of looking at life. Now I understand depression isn't just a feeling. It's also a distorted perception. And yes, therapy can help validate your feelings, but until you start shifting your mentality and questioning the stories that depression tells you, that heaviness never really goes away, no matter how good your life gets. When you're depressed, you're more inclined to interpret ambiguous events in the worst way possible. So let's say you're out with a friend and they ignore you briefly. You instantly think you're annoying, you're a burden, you might as well isolate because no one enjoys your company anyway, but none of that is true. You've just assumed things based on the way your belief system operates operates and how it made you feel. But what if your friend was zoning out? What if your friend was in their own head and they've got their own problems? Sometimes it's important to consider the rest of the world and realize no one else's life revolves around you. Sometimes people aren't even paying attention to you. That's why you have to remove I out of the equation. Instead of claiming I'm annoying, I'm not a good person, I'm at fault, start saying they are going through their own problems. They may not have been paying attention for a second. They may need help. They may need space the same way I do. When it comes to ambiguous events, which are basically situations that are open to more than one interpretation, the aim is to view it as neutrally as possible. But when you're depressed, the lens you perceive it through is negative. Therefore, the conclusions you assume are also negative. But that's where you need to weigh up the evidence and start looking at the positives and the negatives. For example, when you're depressed, you instantly think everything is going wrong, even though all your problems are probably those you conjure up through thought alone. Even when there's a solution, you justify inaction by making excuses, whereas the solution is probably way easier than you even expect. The goal isn't to delude yourself into thinking positively 24/7. It's to practice looking at things as they are. And once you do, your perception of the world changes because you're no longer viewing it from a negative lens. You're seeing it as neutral. So what I want you to do is practice these 3 things. Number 1, when something upsets you, ask yourself, what actually happened? What is going on? Then ask yourself, what are the meanings I'm attaching to it and how am I unconsciously reacting to it? Number 2, when you are faced with a triggering experience, look at the evidence around you and differentiate between the positive and the negative. Number 3, when you make assumptions, remove I out of the equation and have compassion for others and what they may be going through. When you're depressed, you are your worst enemy because you set all these unrealistic expectations that make it impossible to start. Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't have to magically fix your life or ways of thinking all at once. You just need to create movement. So take one step at a time. Think of one habit that you can build on. Let's say you've been bedrotting for the last 2 weeks. You don't need to get up and face the world. You just need to get yourself into the shower. If you're facing resistance, count down from 5. When you get to 1, get up and get in there. The more you do it, the more resilience you build, the more confidence you become, and the easier it is to tackle all those tasks that feel way more overwhelming. Let's say you haven't spoken to or seen your friends and family for a very long while. They do not have high expectations of you. They just want to know that you're okay. So instead of thinking you have to spend 3, 4, 5 hours with them explaining yourself to them, just send them a message. Let them know that you're thinking of them. Let them know that you still care. You're just going through it and you just need time. And they will be more than understanding of you. Sometimes the thing you're avoiding is the exact same thing that you need. And I say this because it happened to me. I stopped speaking to my sister for over 6 months. And when I think about it now, it makes me so sad because she never gave up on me. Every week she would send me a message, check in on me. And I didn't respond back because I felt like I needed to explain myself to her, and that was something I wasn't ready for. But the reality was she just wanted to make sure I was alive and I was okay because she genuinely thought I was dead. And looking back, I think she needed me just as much as I needed her because her life wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. She had her own problems. She wanted someone to rant to. She wanted someone that she could share her successes with. And I deprived her of the older sister that I should have been, all because my perception was lying to me. She grieved and cried over my absence, and it was only once I reached out and I broke through that barrier did I really find out she didn't have all these high expectations. I didn't really disappoint her or let her down. She just wanted to make sure that I was okay. Once I got over the fear of the first interaction, it was a huge relief. And ever since, it's motivated me to do better, to stay in touch and tackle all my other problems head on because they are not as bad as your mind makes you believe it is. So that's why forcing yourself to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, not only lifts a massive weight off your shoulders and improves your mood, but it gives you the courage to break down those limiting beliefs that you've held onto for so long. Every action you take or avoid, no matter how big or how small, always leads to a result. The issue with depression is you only feel the weight of action, but you don't see the potential reward because it comes later on. So even when you don't feel like it, go outside and touch grass, meditate for 10 minutes, send that one text to a friend. Even though it feels insignificant, I promise you the benefits exceed more than you could ever imagine, because it's not just something minor. You're interrupting a negative chain reaction and replacing it with a healthy habit that you can then build on over time. So what I recommend you do is write a list of all the things you've been avoiding, and on the other side of the paper, write actionable steps you can take to overcome this problem that you've now got. Then out of this list, start with 1, start with 2. Try every single day to be consistent, to do the actions that you've written down, and stick to it for at least 30 days, because you can't expect drastic changes to arise in 2 weeks. Once you feel comfortable, once you see the consequence of action being reward, you can then start implementing other habits into your routine. And over time, you build self-trust. You realize all these problems you were magnifying are not half as bad as you once believed. It was just starting that was the tricky part. When you are depressed, you know how easy it is to get sucked into self-destructive behaviors. And at first, it's a coping mechanism. But the longer you rely on it, the more addicted you become to it, because your brain releases dopamine every time you do whatever is temporarily helping you. But the faster and harder the dopamine hit, the harder and faster the crash. So it's almost like you have to rely on it throughout the entire day in order to feel half decent. For example, I was vaping as soon as I opened my eyes from morning till night because it was a way to release the stress that I was experiencing. But I didn't realize until later on that it was contributing to my downfall, because that is a huge reason why I felt so tired and lethargic the entire day. The vape made me feel so exhausted because I was constantly yawning. And I'm not gonna lie, I was sick of having this fruit flavored shit just stuck in the back of my throat 24/7. What I did wasn't instantly quit, because I knew how hard it would be, especially when I had relied on it for so long. Instead, I told myself for the first 3 hours of the day, I am not going to vape. Instead, I'm going to wake up and drink a glass of water and try hold out as long as possible. As soon as I did that, I felt driven to keep going because I physically felt the difference. And it goes to show what's temporarily helping you is actually making it so much worse in the long run. How you start your day sets the tone for the rest of the day. So if you wake up and first thing you do is reach for your phone, or you watch porn, or you doom scroll, then your brain cannot concentrate because it's looking for an instant relief. I loved it when Jim Carrey said, depression is your body saying, I don't want to play this character anymore. And being depressed is just like needing deep rest, because your body is asking for a break from this life, this character, this identity that you've been forcing. And I think it's so true, because a lot of us don't know what we want from life. We don't know what our purpose is. And if we do, we aren't executing it because we're so tied to what others expect from us or what others want us to be. So we push our true desires to the side in order to live up to their expectations instead of our own. You might not want to be tied to a 9-to-5 for the rest of your life. Your dream may be to create, to post content online, to help millions of people around the world using your voice, a service, or a product. But you're so scared of trying because you've got this fear of being judged. You're so worried about the opinions of others, but who gives a flying fuck about what other people say? I promise you that is the one thing holding you back. And I say this because I was once in your position. I love my parents so much, and I know deep down they love me and they want what's best for me. That's why they were so hard and so strict on me. They wanted me to go to university. They wanted me to study. They wanted me to grow up being a lawyer or a doctor. And at heart, none of that is what I truly desired, but I did all of that because I just wanted to make them proud. I knew from the age of 18, my purpose was so much greater than an office job. I knew I was given a voice for a reason and I was supposed to use it. It was only once I hit rock bottom and I had nothing to lose did I think, do you know what? Fuck this. Why am I trying to fit into these standards that everyone else is setting when I can just be myself? It was only once I started trusting my purpose, trusting my intuition, did things fall into place, and I flourished. So depression isn't just a problem. It's a message from your subconscious mind warning you that you need to change or stop pretending to be somebody that you're not. You don't need to please others. You don't need to restrict yourself because you only live once and you take nothing and no one to the grave. It's better to die knowing that you tried than to grow old living with regret that manifests and makes you bitter and resentful. Even when you think you have everything to lose, I promise you, you have way, way more to gain. When you take that leap into the unknown, Everything manifests way better than you could ever expect. You just need to trust yourself and trust in something greater than you. The issue with depression is a lot of the time we aren't being authentic. We have chained ourselves to our current reality when the truth is we have the freedom to create or to live however we desire. So what I want you to do is write down a list of things that actually make you happy. Is it art? Is it traveling the world? Is it buying a pet? Is it starting your own business or investing in stocks so that you don't have to be tied to a 9 to 5? Whatever your goals are, write them down and put a plan in motion so that you can actually attain them. When you have a plan, you know what actions need to be taken to get yourself to the destination that you desire. What you have to realize is no matter what your goal is, it's not going to be easy. It requires dedication, hard work, consistency, genuine effort, increasing your knowledge, and none of that you can avoid. Sometimes you fail before you win, but that's just a test to see how badly you want it and how much you truly deserve it. I think that's where a lot of us give up, because we get overwhelmed by the setbacks or what is required of us. But the journey is the best part. Without the resistance, without the drive to push forward no matter what, how would you really appreciate anything you attained? Not only that, the journey helps you up-level your character. You learn to trust yourself, but you also develop the tools required for resilience, for faith. And once you have that, you can conquer anything. If you think you've tried and nothing worked, at some point you have to admit if and when you need help. Help doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less than. It doesn't make you pathetic. If anything, it takes so much courage to admit, do you know what? I can't face this battle alone. And truthfully, you don't have to. There's this huge stigma around therapy being bullshit and antidepressants turning you into a zombie. But what if that's the push you need in the right direction? What if having someone listen to you, validate you, help you process or reframe your worldview, or even being put on temporary medication made a huge positive impact on not only your productivity, but also your outlook on life? Everything remains confidential, so you don't need to be ashamed for doing what's right for you. You don't need to withhold the solution just because you care about what everyone else thinks. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So make your own judgment. Try it and see for yourself. You never know. It might be the missing piece in your own puzzle. If you have a friend or family member that keeps checking in on you, that's a sign they never gave up on you. That's a sign they still care, and there's no harm in opening the door and letting them in. You never know. They might be going through something similar. They might need you as much as you need them, and just knowing you're not alone is enough to give you relief. It's enough to give you the strength to keep pushing forward. And I promise you, the moment you release all this shit that you've been bottling up and you let it out through words alone to someone that you trust, you start to realize your problems are no way near as bad as what your brain convinces you. There is so much more I wish I could say, but if I continue on, this is going to turn into a long-winded movie and your brains are going to explode. So I'm going to stop, but I just want to give you hope. I want you to know that this depressive state doesn't define you. This is not you in your final form. And you need to think or reflect back on all the times throughout your life where you've gone through hardship, where you've struggled. How many times did you make it out? If you didn't, you wouldn't be alive right now. This state will not last forever. And what I've recognized is after every hardship, every rock bottom, you are about to experience the biggest breakthrough of your life. I just pray this is the version of you that changes everything. Just take each day as it comes and act, even if the action feels minor, because every step forward is a step towards liberation. And if you need someone to speak to, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I will message you. I will speak to you. I will help you, because I knew how much I needed help when I was going through it as well. Don't forget, you are loved, and you need to start loving yourself as much as you love everyone else.